Hello and welcome to School of Forex once again. It's always excited to come before your screen to share knowledge with you, learn with you, grow with you so we can earn together. In this particular video, we will go through the top 5 news events to trade as a Forex trader. Top 5. So if you have gone through my video on how to use the Forex factory to improve your trading as a Forex trader, you would appreciate the wide range of news that exists in Forex markets. You can't focus on everything. You can't trade all news. You should focus on some. So in this video, we will talk about top 5 news events that we should trade. Let's get into it. So as I said earlier, if you come to Forex Factory, this is where most of the Forex traders come to check news events. Most of them. Some of them also go to Bloomberg, Daily Forex, CBN, a number of them. So if once they come here, they see a number of news events. The question is, there are about four types of news that are released on Forex Factory. One, we have the high impact news, indicated by the red signs, high impact news. Then we have the medium impact news, indicated by the gold, is it deep gold sign. Then we have the low impact news, indicated by the yellow color. And lastly, we have the non-economic news. Those ones are indicated by gray color. Great. So these are the 4 types of news that exist on the Forex Factory. But as a Forex trader, the news you should limit yourself to are the high impact news. That's those indicated by the red, because they are the ones that move the market. They carry volatility. They have impact. Once they are released, sometimes immediately they are released, you see the market moving like that. Sometimes once they get released, few minutes or seconds, then the market also moves. So as a Forex trader, don't be bothering yourself with the low impact news and the medium impact news or non-economic news. They are good for to update you on what's happening. But if you want to trade and make money, focus on high impact news. Very good. Let's get into it. So on the high impact news, that one too, you can't trade all high impact news because there are a number of high impact news. Example, even if you look at here, we have EU Economic Summit, we have unemployment rate, we have RBA government law, a number of them. But even on the high impact news, you are going to limit ourselves to 5 of them. Top 5 high impact news that you should focus yourself on as a Forex trader. So what are these top 5 impact news? The first one that you should focus on is the central bank rates. Central bank rates. So there are 8 central banks in the entire world that the Forex market captures. 8 different central banks in the world that the Forex market captures or focuses on. These central banks, in no particular order, are the US Federal Reserve Bank, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, the Swiss National Bank, the Bank of Canada, Reserve Bank of Australia, and the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. So these are the 8 major central banks that we have in the world. And aside these central banks, there are a number of central banks that exist in every country. Every country has its own central bank. So Ghana, The Central Bank of Ghana is called Bank of Ghana. The Central Bank of Nigeria is called Central Bank of Nigeria, or Nigerian Central Bank. In every country, there exists a central bank. Their duty is to decide on interest rates and make economic monetary policies for the particular nation or country. So those are the news that you should be focusing on. So once this central bank come out with the rates, they decide on the rates. So every month, central banks come out with the rates, a particular rate that they have decided on. And the outcomes are three. That is either to increase the interest rates, decrease it, or keep it as it is. And if they decide to increase the interest rates, it is good for the currency, because if interest rates are increased, more investors will be willing to invest, because investors want returns for their money. So the higher the interest rates, the higher it is for the investors. And once investors are coming into your economy, it means the economy is booming and it will do well, and the currency will appreciate in effect. But if they reduce the interest rates, it means it will decrease the number of investors that will be willing to come to that particular country to invest, and therefore it will have an impact on the currency involved. And if they fix it, if they leave it there unchanged, that one they can either decide to go up or down, either the currency rise or it falls. So those ones are the interpretations or how the decisions of the central bank can affect the currency and the prices at stake. So example, if the central bank of Nigeria, Nigeria is not a major economic country. Let's use the Reserve Bank of Australia. So for instance, the Reserve Bank of Australia releases a decision on the rates, interest rates. What it means is that if they decide to increase the interest rates, it will in effect increase the price of Australian dollar. And if they decrease it, it will decrease the price of Australian dollar. That's Australian dollar will fall. And if they leave it unchanged, it can either cause it to go up or down based on the sentiments of the people. So that is how to look at interest rates and trade with it. So that's the first one. Central bank decisions, interest rates. It's one of the top impact news that you should focus on as a forex trader. Secondly, you should also focus on gross domestic product, that's GDP news. So GDP too is a high impact news. GDP simply means gross domestic product. This is an important indicator of how fast or slow a country's economy is growing. So mostly when this news is released, it comes with a particular number or figure, and this figure has a bearing on the markets. So you go to Forex Factory and you will see that, let's check one GDP news. So from what we learned the other time, we come quickly, we filter. We want only high impact news. We filter that, and now we have high impact news. We are looking for GDP news. So for this month, we are looking for GDP, gross domestic products. It's a high impact news. So wait. We want a GDP news for an example, so we can see the numbers that we are talking about. Okay, let's add Let's see. So when we added the medium impact news, just to see if we can see some GDPs there. Okay. Okay. Very good. So example, this is a GDP news on Friday 30th. This GDP news. And for this, you will come here and you realize that it will be comparing this with. So let's go to details. So for the detail, we have the previous, the forecast, and the actual. For GDP news, mostly that's how they are given. They come in figures. And the figures are always comparing the previous figure released, the GDP for the previous month. And after that, analysts always make a forecast, the projections. So the previous month figure is given, the forecast or projection is given, and once the news are released, the actual one is also given. That's the actual news when they are released. And we compare that with the forecast. If it is the same, it is good. If it is below, it is bad. That is red. If it is above, it is green. That's also good. So that is how the GDP news are also seen, and you can take advantage of them and trade. So yeah, so that is the GDP news and how to trade with them. The interpretation, as I said earlier, a fall below the market expectation, what the analysts were expecting, the kind of figure they were expecting. If the figure, the actual figure released comes below that, it is bad for the currency involved, which means the currency will fall. But if the actual figure given is above what the analyst gave as a forecast or the expectation, it means it is good for the country and the currency pair involved, and therefore the currency will be expected to rise. That is how you can interpret GDP figures to inform your trading as a news trader. The next type of news event that you have to focus on to trade is the FOMC news. FOMC. So the FOMC simply means the Federal Open Market Committee. This is a particular committee only for the United States of America. Even though we have central banks for every country, the Central Bank of the United States of America is giving some preference because from our knowledge in Forex, US dollar is the world's primary reserve currency, and therefore whatever happens to the dollar affects every country, because whatever business you do or transactions you make, you will need a dollar to be able to do that on the world stage. And therefore, whatever happens to the United States of America affects or has indirect impact on other countries. And therefore, the committee or the Central Bank of the United States of America is giving preeminence or a center stage for their decisions. So that is the FOMC. This is a committee that meets each month to set the interest rates and comment on the current economic conditions and its effectiveness on future economic conditions and monetary policy. So that is for the United States of America. And this particular committee is made up of two set of groups. The first one is called the hawkish, and the second one is called the dovish. The hawkish are the group that believe that the interest rate should be increased, and the dovish are the group that believe the interest rate should be decreased or reduced. And anytime they meet, a vote must be cast. They vote to decide which interest rates are being decided on. And these two factions cast their votes, and the outcome will be the outcome for the decision for the interest rates. That's for the United States of America. So That is that the hawkish and the dovish. The question is, what is the interpretation of this particular news event? So for this, if the hawkish win the vote, it means they want the interest rates to increase. And it is good for the country and it's good for investors because more investors will be looking forward to invest in the economy and the price will increase as a result. But if the dovish or the doves win the day, that is, if they win more votes, it means that they will cut the interest rate or even decide to keep it as it is. And investors will always want their money to increase, and therefore, if they keep their monies or the interest rate as it is bad for the currency pair involved. So again, this is how you can interpret FOMC and trade based on that. Make your decision based on that. Let's look at the next top news events that you should focus your energy on to trade, because again, you have little time, little money, and you need to focus and specialize on what you are trading and make sure what you are trading is profitable. The next one is the consumer price index, that's CPI. This is one of the important economic indicators to measure a country's inflation figures. So if you've gone through School of Forex, our training, you will come to appreciate that for every country, the inflation is simply what the country determines for the prices of its goods. So the goods on the market, that's the inflation. So if the inflation is higher, it means the prices are higher in the market. And if you have an amount of money, you go to the market to go and buy. Because prices are higher, with your money you can buy few things. And therefore, things will be on the market and people will cannot be able to buy them because their monies will not be able to buy the thing they wanted to buy. And it's bad for any country. High inflation is bad for every country. So the consumer price index actually gives information about the historical average prices paid per consumers for their goods and services. All consumer goods and services have a way of being tracked, and this consumer price index is the one that brings back the history. So example, if you are in October, we have a history from January 2020 till September 2020. All the consumer price index, we have them, the prices that people paid for a particular commodity, for a particular service in a country, they are recorded and tracked by a particular organization, and they are recorded, they're kept for future references. So those ones are what they are used in determining the inflation of a country. So you should be looking at this particular news to determine how it will affect the market and its interpretation. If the CPI figure indicate that the inflation is evident, that is, the prices are rising higher and higher and higher. So for the past 7 months, we've been receiving high figures for prices and for services. It communicates to the central bank that no, we are getting close to inflation. We might be getting close to danger, and therefore it will inform the central bank to reduce to increase interest rates for more investors to invest in the economy. So that is one indicator, one way central banks get a clue to decide on interest rates. Great. So again, for United States, the FOMC, they also consider CPI, that's Consumer Price Index. It informs their decision to either reduce or increase interest rates. So that is about it. And the vice versa, the reverse too is true. If they realize that, oh, there is no particular targets that we've reached, and therefore interest rate should be maintained as it is. So be it. Then they keep it as such. So again, CPIs or consumer price index helps central banks to determine interest rates. Very good. The next type of news, high impact news to focus on is employment indicator or unemployment rate indicator. This is an unemployment rate of a country which is crucial to the market and is very important to central banks because it gives them the indicator of the state of affairs, whether the economy is doing well or not. Among all the unemployment rates that you can ever get, there are two most important labor statistics released every single month, which you as a forex trader, you should focus on. So these two economic unemployment news or unemployment rate news are these two are the NFP, that is the non-farm payroll, and the average automatic data products, that is ADP. So these are the news events that you should be focusing on. Talking about non-farm payroll, that is NFP, it is considered as the king of all news. So on the first Friday of every month, sometimes if the first Friday falls on a holiday, a public holiday, it is postponed to the second Friday of the month. And on that Friday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the United States releases the unemployment rate, the figures out. And all forex traders, most forex traders make their trading decisions based on that. And therefore, over time, it has been considered as the king of all news because once they are released, once NFP is released, it moves the market tremendously. And before the Friday comes, the 2 days before, that is on the Wednesday, the first Wednesday of every month, another news is also released. This news is the ADP jobs. So the ADP jobs news is also a news event just like the NFP, but this one gives a preview or an indication of how the NFP will go. So whatever the direction the ADP jobs go, the same direction is what the NFP go. So mostly ADP gives an indication of NFP, and ADP is released on the first Wednesday of every month. Again, if the first Friday will fall on a weekend, on a holiday, a public holiday, then the NFP will be postponed. And once NFP is postponed, ADP will surely also be postponed to the second Wednesday of the month. So because the interval between ADP jobs and NFP is just 2 days. ADP is released on a Wednesday and NFP is released on a Friday. And these two events move the markets tremendously. So for NFP, the question is, how do you trade and interpret NFP? The same way you trade and interpret interest rates, GDPs, and the figures, mostly. So let's go back and see how we can be able to, an example on a Forex factory. So the first Friday of October, NFP. So we had NFP on the first Friday of October. But before NFP, there was ADP. Let's add this and see. Yeah, before NFP, there was an ADP. Unfortunately, this is, so let's add the Wednesday. Okay, so October 1st. Let's start from 30th October. So 30th of October, we are looking for ADP news because ADP news are released on Wednesdays, and on the Friday, NFPs are released. So since NFP fell on 2nd, ADP is likely to fall on the 30th, and that's why we've come back to look for ADP. Very good. ADP is here. So as we said, it was released on the 30th. USD, that's the currency involved, released by the United States of America. ADP, non-farm employment change. So with this, mostly the figure given is, once again, just like the GDP, it is compared to the previous month's figure that was given or that we saw. And before the figure is even released, we have a previous month. So for this month of October, the previous month was September, and 481k jobs. That was a change. That change we saw 481,000 jobs being added to the economy. And economists or analysts were expecting this figure to increase. So they were expecting that it will go to 650,000 jobs increased. But fortunately for the United States, they had 749, which is above, that's the actual figure released, data released, which is above the forecast or the expected figure, which means it's good for the country because they were expecting 650, but now they have 749, and that's why you can see it in green. So that's the ADP. And since the ADP is good, the likelihood of NFP to be good is higher, but there's no guarantee. So now that we've seen the ADP, you can even read more details, open detail, and you can go through it. So you can see the previous for May, June, July, August, September. You can see them here for all the various months. That's the previous for May. In April, this was the figure. This was the expected, and this was the actual good. In June, May, this is what they saw. This is what was expected, the forecasted, and the actual is here. So that's the same thing that happens. And some news here that you can read, mostly you can go down Forex Factory, read them all. So they are there for you to read. What I am here to help you out is to be able to identify the figure, interpret the figure to inform your decision. These ones just give clarification to, or they add details to the news, but the news is in the figure. So that is the automatic data processing job. So now let's go back to the 2nd of October to the NFP. So the NFP, this is an on-farm payroll. Here to the unemployment rates, we saw that the previous month was 8.4, and analysts were expecting that to reduce to at least 8.2. Unemployment is not good for any country, so they were expecting that to at least do better, the country to do better. And fortunately for the country received 7.9 unemployment rate for that particular month of October, or this particular month of October, which is good for the country, which means more people had jobs. And this news can be compared with the non-farm change. That is 1,489,000 jobs were added in the previous month. The analysts were expecting this number to be around 900 in October, but unfortunately that could not happen. They experienced 761. But even if you look at if you check the ADP news that was released, the data given for ADP, you can see that ADP, you can see the change in the number of people who were employed in the month of October, or in the month of September, were fantastic. And this increase is reflecting in the unemployment rate. So once more jobs have been added, so automatic data processing, the data processing shows that more jobs have been added, and therefore unemployment will obviously have to reduce. Unemployment will obviously have to reduce, and that's why you saw the unemployment rate reducing from 8.4 to 7.9. This is basically how you go about with your trading. Kindly take advantage of this particular news now that you know of this top 5 news events that you should focus on. You should be profitable. If you are a news trader, you should not be wasting time on any other news. Focus on these news events and you can increase your profit tremendously. Even if you're not a forex trader, even if you are not a news trader, once in a while you can capitalize on some of these events, or you can be conscious of this event because they will affect your trade. So even if you are not a forex, a news trader, please be conscious of this so that when they are released, you will not place a trade, especially during the hours when they are released, because they can affect your trade and move it in a different direction that you did not expect. Thank you very much. If you loved or if you liked this particular video, kindly subscribe to this channel so that anytime you release a video like this, you'll be notified and you will get more information, you will grow, and you'll be able to increase your earning in forex trading. You can also like this video, you can comment, tell us your comment, whatever you think. If you have any question, please indicate in the comment section and we'll be glad to answer it for you. Thank you so much, and we hope that you enjoy this and you apply it well to increase your earnings. Thank you.